Cutback for Vasilev, and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal in his Union debut? The record signing, off and running in his first appearance for the club.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. Another semifinal, another loss for the Philadelphia Union in a cup competition as the Philadelphia Union fall to Nashville SC last night by a score of 3-1 thanks to a Sam Surridge hat trick. Quinn Sullivan scoring the lone goal for the Philadelphia Union and the loss. And man, it's been a terrible week for the Union, honestly, right? Coming off of that 7-0 defeat to Vancouver over the weekend. And then a couple days later, you play Nashville, and some fans would argue this was the Union's best chance, in their opinion, at winning a trophy this season. And they fall flat once again against Nashville. Now for a third time this season, Nashville has defeated the Union. And I guess right off the gate, I would say some teams just have your number. And that's exactly what it's been this season with BJ Callahan and Nashville against the Union, beating the Union at Subaru Park. They get the late penalty kick in Geodis Park with Hani Mukhtar converting it. And then the Union give up a hat trick to Sam Surridge, who's been one of the best players in MLS this season. And yeah, unfortunately for the Union, just self-inflicted wounds. And when you have a player that's in such good form as Sam Surridge, leads MLS players in the Golden Boot race with 21, you know, good players are going to go ahead and make you pay. And that's exactly what Sam Surridge did last night with Nashville. And yeah, it's disappointing. It really is disappointing where in the Union you felt had momentum in this competition with getting past Indy 11 on penalty kicks, then beating Pittsburgh Riverhounds pretty easily. You come back twice against New York Red Bulls and beat them 3-2. And yeah, unfortunately, 0 shots in the first half, 0 goals in the first half for the Union, the first time in this competition this season. And when you're not generating shots, when you're not generating chances, and we've seen that during the regular season with the Union plenty of times this season, you're going to struggle. And it brings the question up to some people, right? Where I saw some people on social media saying, could this be the start of the Union going on a collapse? Could this be the start of the fall for the Philadelphia Union? A lot of fans point to Bradley Carnell's first season in St. Louis, where they run away with the Western Conference, and towards the end of the season, they start to falter off and eventually lose in the first round of the playoffs to rivals Sporting Kansas City. And I see some fans online making that comparison to what we could potentially see with this Union team. And we all know the Union have 4 games now remaining in MLS, with this weekend's match against New England, which New England, if you missed it, announced during the week that they had fired head coach Caleb Porter. There's reports out there that Jim Curtin is being lined up as the next manager for New England. We'll save that talking point for Sunday show. Yes, we are going to do a Sunday show. Even though I'll be on vacation, I love doing the podcast, especially looking at the last episode where a ton of you guys, like a lot more of you guys, listened to the podcast after that 7-0 loss to Vancouver than I expected, honestly. And shout out to you guys for enduring an episode full of negativity. You guys showed up, so I appreciate that. So we will have a Sunday episode reviewing, hopefully, a Philadelphia Union win against New England. And then after New England, we know the Union head down to DC United. And then they have New York City at home. They go into that 2-week break for the international break and then end the season against Charlotte. So you have 2 teams that are in the playoff positions right now, 2 teams that are out of playoff positions. New England, I don't expect them to make the playoffs. I mean, that's Caleb Porter really screwed New England up. But again, you have an interim manager coming in. Can he give New England that bump? Could that continue this 2-game losing streak for the Philadelphia Union? And if that happens, I think the sky is really going to start to fall down on Union fans. But Regardless, yeah, really disappointing to see the Union lose for a third time this season to Nashville. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, right? But we know the Union are making the playoffs. That's a fact. The Union clinched a couple weeks ago. But I do wonder, right? You look at the form that Nashville's on, the Union have struggled in all three games against Nashville, I would say, right? It's just little switch off moments, the Union conceding penalties, just little individual mistakes. And it is a possibility, right, that the Union could face off against Nashville sometime in the playoffs. Now, I know some of you guys are like, well, it all depends, right? Maybe some of you guys don't have the greatest confidence in the world, especially if the Union don't get a result this weekend against New England. I mean, you got to get 3 points, right? You got to get 3 points against New England, a team that currently sits in 11th place on 32 points. You got to get all 3 points at Subaru Park. Nashville, as things stand, are currently in 4th place in the Eastern Conference on 50 points. And if the Union do advance to the playoffs and they do wind up playing Nashville at some point, could we see what happened a few years ago in 2021 or 2020, when the Union won the Supporters Shield? And I feel like they played New England 4 or 5 times that season, and the Union won every single game. And then in the playoffs, they get blanked at Subaru Park by New England. Could that happen in the playoffs by the Union? It's possible. It's possible. We know that these two teams played a few years ago and wind up going to penalty kicks, and it was an intense game between Nashville and Philadelphia Union at Subaru Park, with Walker Zimmerman skying his penalty. Walker Zimmerman doesn't play last night for Nashville, and it didn't matter for them, right? The Union were unable to get the result, and they're knocked out of the U.S. Open Cup. But go ahead and pull up some of your comments. Jazz opens up, says, thought for the day, is it just me, or do the Union get rid of better coaches than they keep? Tony says, I'm on team stay positive. These were away games that were far away and against top tier teams. My confidence in them is not shaken. I only hope theirs isn't either, because that's the real worry. And Bradley Carnell talked about that a little bit, about the confidence coming into this game after losing 7-0 to Vancouver over the weekend. We'll play that clip later on in the show. Valerie chimes in, says, quite a bummer, and I don't know if I could handle it if Jim is back at the Sub on Saturday. Yeah, there's no way that New England have Jim Curtin lined up and ready to coach on Saturday. I would be shocked, honestly. But maybe. I mean, it's only Wednesday, right? And maybe something crazy happens. We'll see what happens. Mike Barrera chimes in and says, I get that Quinn hasn't been in great form lately, but he's one of the best players on this team. I wish he could have started last night. We will bring that back up later on the show, Mike. Jazz says, would be a win-win for me unless it's a draw. Talking about the New England game. Mike also says, I hope they win the Shield, but I want to Open Cup and win them the Shield. Let's finish the job now. Yeah, I do want to go back to Jazz's point where he says, thought for the day, is it just me, or do the Union get rid of better coaches than they keep? So he's talking about BJ Callahan, obviously being the head coach of Nashville, and BJ left the Union to go be a part of the United States men's national team staff for a couple years under Greg Berhalter. We see Greg get fired by the Federation. BJ steps in as the interim coach and then eventually gets the Nashville job. And we've seen this a couple times under former Philadelphia Union head coach, right? Having good assistant managers that have now went on to get head coaching jobs. You have Pat Noonan with Cincinnati. He's done a fantastic job with Cincinnati. BJ Callahan becomes the latest. Ryan Richter came from that coaching tree. I know it's not the same thing, right? But gets a head coaching job with Union too. And Jim Curtin, if I'm not mistaken, I'd said before in the past that he does believe that Ryan Richter will one day get a head coaching job in MLS, that he does believe in him. And you see it all the time in pro sports, right? Where head coaches get good assistant managers and then they eventually leave and get head coaching jobs. Pat Noonan for me is the one that maybe is the potential that got away, right? But it came down to, Cincinnati, the report saying that Chris Albright wanted Jim Curtin in Cincinnati. Jim Curtin did not want to go. He wanted to stay in Philadelphia. And so they wind up hiring Pat Noonan. And Pat would get the best out of Jim Curtin the last couple of years between these two sides, right? And I remember seeing people on social media saying, well, maybe the Union should have kept Pat Noonan instead of Jim Curtin. And now you see BJ Callahan get the best of Bradley Carnell in 3 matches this season. And he's done a tremendous job with a team that's completely bought into his style of play, which is similar to the Union pressing. And, they want to counterattack, and they're going to foul you. They foul you a lot. They get under your skin. And we've seen that in a couple games with the Union this season in Nashville. So, yeah, BJ Callahan's done a fantastic job with Nashville SC, and we'll see. Can Nashville go on and win? And BJ Callahan was a coach under Jim Curtin in some of those final losses, and so now can he redeem himself from an assistant coach to a head coach and the losing streak in finals? So we shall see. But BJ Callahan done a fantastic job with Nashville, and gets the best of the Philadelphia Union last night. But there's a lot of different points that I want to talk about. I do appreciate that comment there from you, Jazz, for us to talk about just Pat Noonan and BJ Callahan, former assistants under Jim Curtin, doing phenomenal work. But yeah, I guess the first thing that I'll mention, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, and I saw some fans on social media complain about it. Bradley Carnell complained about during the game, we heard, having a go at the 4th official about him not believing that it's being a evenly called game. Philadelphia Union wound up receiving 5 yellow cards in this game compared to Nashville's 2. 3 yellow cards for the Union in the first half. Once the game was all said and done, 15 fouls for Nashville, 12 for the Union. And you guys, I would imagine most of you guys listening to the show watched the broadcast and weren't actually in Nashville, but they kept harping on that Bruno Damiani should have been sent off early in this game. They were saying, oh yeah, it was a red card worthy challenge 5 minutes into the game. I think that would have been harsh to send Bruno off. We see it all the time, right? That Bruno is a player that is going to bring the physicality, wants to set the tone. Reminds me of Julian Kranza a couple of years ago, where Julian's going to draw a lot of fouls for you, but he's also going to foul a lot, just making it uncomfortable for center backs. But yeah, I mean, was that a red card? Do I think there was red card worthy? No. I think they got the decision spot on. I mean, 5 minutes in, that would have been so harsh to give Bruno Damiani a red card, straight up red card. And then you do have the second goal, it was, right, where Damiani puts up his hand to try to deflect the ball out of the net. And they were saying, that should have been a second yellow card for Damiani, and then he should have been sent off, right? But the ball winds up in the back of the net regardless. And credit to Victor Rivas for not sending anybody off. Like I said, Nashville led these two teams in fouls 15-12. I mean, only 27 fouls called, not a ton of fouls called. I mean, to Victor Rivas' credit, he let these teams play physical. He let the game play out. But yeah, Bradley Carnell, I mean, complaining about thinking that, the game was being one-sided. Was asked after the game about the refereeing performance, and Bradley Carnell took the question and phrased it back to Joe Tanzi, was the reporter who asked the question, and asked how Joe thought the game was handled. And Joe says that he thought it was a fair game. He thought it was a good game from Victor Rivas. And Bradley Carnell says, well, then it was fair, the referee decisions. And obviously Bradley Carnell has a completely different opinion, according to the interview, the answer that Claudia Pagan gave to Tony Miola and Chris Whittingham when she said she heard Bradley Carnell just having a go at the 4th official. I saw some Union fans say that they heard Kai Wagner giving it also to the official on the sideline, not happy with the way that the game is called. But that's to be expected with Kai Wagner, right? He's a player that leaves his emotions on his sleeve. He's a player that's always jawing at the officials and everything. So I would expect nothing less from Kai Wagner for having a go at the referees. But I want to make no mistake that the Union didn't lose this game because of a refereeing performance. The Union lost this game because of the Union. Now, yeah, you can complain about the potential penalty call for Danley John Jock in the second half, and then that call doesn't get called, and then Nashville go on and score the third goal right after the Union believe that they probably should have had a penalty kick. And they don't go in VAR, have a look at it, and Nashville get the decisive goal, and Union get caught ball watching on that play. Nobody tracks Daniel Lovitz down the left side of the field. Nobody puts pressure on him, and yeah, he just has free reign down that left touch line, and you can't have that. Yeah, as upset as you might be on getting the no non-call, you've got to put a body on Daniel Lovitz. You still got to stay in position. And there was a call in the first half that led to the first goal where Kai Wagner tackles Alex Muyl, does get the ball, but then his trailing leg catches Muyl. They call a free kick. Nashville score on that opening goal, again, because of bad set piece defending. Again, we'll talk about that more specifically later on in the show. But yeah, are there decisions that went against the Union in this game? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, right, you got to mark your players, right? You can't be jawing at the referee. You got to make sure that you're lined up. And to see the Union concede 2 of the 3 goals off of set pieces, yeah, that's why I say the Union beat themselves, not the referee performance. So I don't want to go ahead and use that as an excuse. Jazz says Nashville wanted to play. The Union just wanted to foul. Tony says Carnell's press conference was hilarious. I kind of love when he gets mad bitchy. Yeah, and I saw some people say, yeah, is Carnell always like that? I mean, can you blame him, right? I mean, it's 2 bad results for his team. Get blown out against Vancouver, and then you are 1 game away from reaching a final, and your team has that type of performance. I can understand why Bradley Carnell was pretty upset. Tony says, I saw people on Reddit saying that the announcers were talking too much about Damiani getting a red, but to be honest, I think they were just pointing out how many times he got lucky not to get sent off. He was. Yeah, definitely a lot of hard challenges. Like I mentioned, that handball where Nashville eventually scores the second goal. Maybe he is fortunate that he doesn't get called for that. The ball was in the back of the net by the time he tried to hit the ball down. So they don't give a yellow card. But if Damiani does deflect that ball out, kind of like Suarez, what was it, years ago? 2010, I believe it was. Somebody fact checked me on that. Against Ghana in the World Cup, where Suarez gets a handball and Ghana misses the penalty kick, and Uruguay goes on and wins that match. Yeah, if Damiani would have deflected the ball out and doesn't go in the back of the net, yeah, he's straight up getting a red card for that moment. And so I agree. He probably was lucky for some of his fouls not to get a second yellow card. And again, I think it was a fine refereeing performance for the most part by Victor Rivas. Again, I mean, the tackle by Wagner on Muyl does get all ball. His trailing leg does wind up taking out Muyl. Is that a call that you should be making? I don't know. 50-50 for me. I'm not a referee. I think because everybody listening to this are Union fans, they're upset about the call. But if you're a Nashville fan, you're like, yeah, it's the right call. The non-penalty call for Danley getting taken out in the box. How you don't have a VAR check, and maybe VAR is in Victor Rivas's ear saying, don't look, there's no need to go to the monitor, and the play continues on. But again, it's why you're taught to play until the final whistle. So as upset as the Union are at not getting that penalty kick, you got to play till the final whistle, and you got to be locked in. And the Union, just for really all 3 goals, weren't locked in. Nice to see my buddy Jem Skylark, Jem Torigar checking into the show. What's up, Jem? I imagine you're back in England, and if you are, it's got to be what, 1 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock? I guess you're still used to Central Time as you were in Chicago the last week. Thanks for staying up late and chiming in on the show. Jazz says, if a Philly player caught that kind of elbow in the eye, Carnell would have been screaming for weeks. It's a good point. I forgot about that. It was Milan Iloski, right, that put the elbow in the face of Edie, the midfielder for Nashville, and he winds up having to change out his shirt, gets bloody and everything. I forgot about that moment. good memory. So, yeah, I think if the roles were reversed, Union fans definitely would have been upset about that. That is for sure. 1:27 a.m., sir. Yeah. So you are back in England. We love you and your podcast, Todd. Absolutely. Thank you for staying up late and checking in and listening to the podcast while you were driving back from Wisconsin to Chicago, I believe it was. But yeah, I think the refereeing performance is fine. So nothing else I want to say about that. Second time, though, this season that the Union have had a 2-game losing streak. 4-0-2 after that first game losing streak, and then we'll see what the Union do now. Like I said, you have 4 games remaining. What will the Union do against New England this weekend? Then you go down to DC. I would imagine they've got to be both must-win games. New York City at home, the final home game of the season, probably feels like a must-win game as well. And then Charlotte, where you struggled playing down their way. Charlotte's been extremely hot. They're on a 9-game unbeaten run. 9-game winning streak in MLS, which ties the most wins in MLS season history. So we'll see if Charlotte can get it done this weekend and go 10 in a row. But yeah, Union do struggle down in Charlotte playing on that turf. And so, yeah, I mean, your next 3 games, you got to get all 3 points, in my opinion. No excuses for not getting 3 points at home against New England and New York City, and then DC. I mean, the Union have owned DC, and I don't know. I mean, they get a new coach. Could they get the new coach bump in DC? Potentially. So, got to focus on the game this weekend against New England, though. So we will see what happens. Jess says, Todd, question: do you believe they even practice playing with the ball? It's a good question. It's definitely a good question. I'll be honest. I've been to 2 in-person press conferences, 1 in-person press conference this season. I've not been to a practice. You only get 15 minutes at practice. Bradley Carnell is really, really strict with media not staying past that 15-minute mark where Jim Curtin didn't care. I mean, there was multiple times over the years where I feel like I've stayed for pretty much the whole practice and everything. I'm watching set piece routines. I'm watching little mini games and everything. I'm watching playing against the ball, situations, counterattacking. But yeah, you don't get many moments under Bradley Carnell. I hear from people that do wind up going to practice, and with working full time, I just don't have time to hop on midweek press conferences, hop down to Chester, drive an hour to Chester, drive an hour back. It just wouldn't work with my work schedule. And when you only get 15 minutes, it's not really worth it, right? But do I think the Union practice with the ball? They got to, right? They got to. And we've seen moments throughout the season where the Union look fantastic, where you see it look fantastically, where the Union are breaking teams down with the ball. And there are moments too where the Union look clueless with the ball. I admit, I mean, last night, and we've talked about it how many times on the podcast, where the Union have struggled to break teams down, create chances. Happens again last night. And to your point, Jazz, I think that's why you say, do I believe that the Union practice playing with the ball? Because they've struggled breaking teams down this season. Too many teams, honestly. And it's a fair, honest question from you. I mean, I would imagine they do practice with it, but again, you only get 15 minutes at practice, so can't give you a true answer what goes on in practice because you only get those 15 minutes. Mike Barrera says 10 points wins you the Shield, in my opinion. Need to enter playoffs in good form, though. Yeah, exactly. Get 3 wins, New England, DC, and New York City. Get a draw down in Charlotte and gives you 10 points, and you finish the season on 67 points. Should get it done. Miami and Vancouver have to win out to get 70 points, and I don't think either team are going to win out, but maybe it happens. Jem says, is there a feature where we can donate to your YouTube podcast channel? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know, Jem. just like and subscribe. And that helps out the channel. That helps out a lot. Comments on the live stream, commenting once the live finishes, once videos get posted. It helps out a lot. I think we're at 385 subscribers on YouTube. 15 away. Yeah, 15, right? Yeah, 15 away from 400. I made it a goal a couple months ago. Can we get to 500 by the end of the year? We're definitely a little bit short, but I do believe in you guys. I do believe in spreading the word that we will get to 500 by the end of the year. And yeah, I mean, some people have asked about donating money to the podcast, paying on Substack, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the generous offers from people, but I don't want to put my stuff behind paywalls and everything. So I appreciate the offer, but yeah, just like and subscribe, spread the word. It means a lot. Tony says, I'm worried about the Shield since Miami has so many more games left to play. Has anyone done the math on that? Yeah, they have to win out. They have to win out to win the Shield. And I honestly can't see Miami winning out, Tony. I'll go ahead and pull up Miami's remaining schedule. They have DC United at home. Then they're away at New York City, away to Toronto, at home against Chicago, at home against New England. They are at home against Atlanta, and then they end the season away at Nashville. They've struggled against Atlanta. We all remember what happened in the playoffs. Atlanta are knocked out of the playoffs for this season, but they would love to ruin Miami going on a run, potentially winning the Shield. Nashville is going to be a tough opponent for them. But yeah, I mean, DC United, we saw them get a draw a few weeks ago at Audi Field 1-1. I know Inter Miami doesn't play a lot of the starters in that game, but was an impressive result nonetheless for DC United. Fully expect Miami to blow the roof off of DC United down in Fort Lauderdale. New York City could be an interesting match. Toronto don't have anything to play for. How will Miami do away in Toronto? I don't know. They have to win out, and I just don't see that happening. I really don't. But maybe they do go on a crazy run and the Union lose the Supporter Shield, because they are in first place in the Supporter Shield, right? They are indeed in first place in the Supporter Shield. It's fully in the Union's hand. Just keep winning and you'll be fine. Again, I don't think Inter Miami is going to win out, so we'll see what happens. Hoagie says you can support Todd by donating to my Venmo. So funny, sexy Hoagie, so funny. Always coming in with the jokes. And Jazz says last two will be their problem. I do agree. Atlanta and Nashville should be an issue for Miami, but again, we'll see what happens, right? We will see what happens with Inter Miami. Tony says, would be so funny if Atlanta ruined their Shield and their season again. Ha ha ha. Absolutely. Mike says Toronto keeps drawing everyone, so maybe they give Miami a tough fight. They gave the Union a tough fight, that's for sure. So you might be right. So yeah, let's see if the Union can keep winning. It is in the Union's hand, and yeah, if Vancouver and Miami went out, then they would obviously pass the Union. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. One thing I do want to bring up real quick though is Bradley Carnell's lineup. So last night it was Andrew Rick in goal once again, Frankie Westfield as the right back, Jacob Glesnes as the center back, Makhanya as the other center back. Don't forget, Makhanya is suspended this weekend against New England for his double yellow card, and then he was at first going to be suspended because of yellow card accumulation. Then he gets the double yellow 2-game suspension. So this will be his remaining game against New England this weekend. Kai Wagner was in at left back, Dylan John Jock and Jovan Lukic as the two defensive midfielders, Milan Iloski, Indiana Vasilev as your 2 10s, and then Bruno Damiani and Ty Baribo up top. Now, Mike brought up a point earlier in the show and said, I get that Quinn hasn't been in great form lately, but he is one of the best players on the team. I wish he could have started last night. And yeah, I mean, that started a conversation on my Twitter feed about Quinn Sullivan not getting the start. And Cole chimed in and said that he's probably pissed and probably will play like a goal or assist, meaningful assist, if you know what I mean, from Quinn tonight. I'm calling it. I quote tweeted it and said, You called it cold nose ball. We'll talk about the goal here by Quinn Sullivan in a bit. But I do actually believe that it was the right decision by Bradley Carnell. It was a big decision last night from Carnell to not play Quinn Sullivan in the starting lineup. Because coming into the game, I mean, I mentioned in the last episode, 8 straight games for Quinn Sullivan where he hadn't had a goal involvement, so no assist or goal. In his first 18 games, he created 34 chances. In his last 8 games, only 8 chances created. So that's a chance a game created, a key pass a game. And in his first 18 games in MLS, it's 1.88 chances created, 1.9, we'll say almost 2. Yeah, his performances have fallen off the last 8 games and starts this game on the bench. And I agree with the decision by Bradley Carnell. And I saw some people saying, well, no, it makes sense why Quinn Sullivan's not starting this game because, he played all 90 minutes over the weekend against Vancouver. And that might be part of it, right? You have a long flight from Vancouver to Philadelphia and then from Philadelphia to Nashville. And this team's maybe still recovering tired legs, long West Coast flight, and you get beat that badly. Yeah, of course you got to change things up. But that wasn't a question that was asked to Bradley Carnell after the night last night. You know, why he decided to start Milan and bench Quinn Sullivan. Maybe it should have been a question last night, but I think it was the right decision. Where you look, yeah, I agree with you, Mike. Quinn's had moments where he's looked really good, but the last 8 games, he's really disappeared and he's not tracking back. He's not pressing as much as he was. And so I think if you want to send a message, that's what you do. Milan Iloski's looked great playing as a number 10 this season for the Union in his limited amount of games. But to your point, when Quinn comes off the bench, he looks lively. It looks like he's making a difference. And I do feel for the strikers in this game with Todd, with Bruno Damiani. I should have tracked it at halftime, looked at the touches for Milan Iloski and Indy Vasilev at halftime. They wind up, Milan plays 64 minutes, only has 36 touches. Indy plays 86 minutes, has 29 touches. Bruno Damiani finishes 64 minutes, has 22 touches. Ty Baribo finishes 86 minutes, has 36 touches. And when you look at the heat maps for all these players, let's see. Can I go ahead and pull this up for you guys on the screen? I'll try to zoom in if I can. Hopefully you guys can see that. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the heat maps for these players, barely any touches inside the box for Ty Baribo. Barely any touches inside the 18 box for Bruno Damiani. Milan Iloski is taking more touches in the Union's defensive half of the field than he is offensively. It's not where you want him taking touches. Indy Vasilev taking more of his touches out wide, a couple inside the middle of the field. But when you have your creative players not taking enough touches, getting on the ball, breaking down teams with the ball, how can you get service for your forwards? And so I do feel bad for Damiani, for Baribo, which I saw some fans complaining about online, saying that they didn't have good games, that they disappear in certain games throughout the year. But what do you expect them to do when they're not getting chances created for them? Look at the heat map. You guys can see it, I'm pretty sure, on YouTube. I know people listening to the RSS feed, you guys can't see it. Go to SofaScore, you can pull it up, or go and check out this part of the podcast on YouTube to look at the heat maps for these players. But I mean, it's unacceptable for Milan Iloski to be taking most of his touches inside the Union's defensive half on the left side of the field. Supposed to be further up on the field, taking players on 1v1. And you only finish the game with 36 touches, 0 key passes on the night. Not good enough. I know Indy gets the assist on Quinn Sullivan's goal. It's all Quinn Sullivan, not the pass from Vasilev. 1 key pass because of the assist, but no, I mean, He's not taking players on 1v1. He's not breaking down Nashville with his dribbling. Quinn Sullivan's taking players on 1v1, creating space. And unfortunately, you don't get that from your two starting number 10s. And this is why some fans say they don't want Indy starting, because he doesn't create enough. He gives you pressure, which is great and everything. It's what Bradley Carnell values. But when your 10s are supposed to be giving you that support, creating the chances for you, how can you expect Bruno Damiani or Ty Baribo or Mikal Urum? We can talk about his chance that he had to tie the game up at 2 apiece later on. But how can you expect the forwards to do anything when they're not getting service? They're not getting service. So, yeah, it probably was Bradley Carnell giving Quinn a rest because he played all 90 minutes against Vancouver. But I think if I was a coach, I would have made that decision just because Quinn's not producing like he was in his first 18 games and comes off the bench and obviously scores the Union's lone goal. So we'll see. We'll see what he does this weekend against New England. Mike Barrera brings up a good point too. Lukic is suspended against New England. Jesus Bueno, I would imagine, is the player that winds up replacing Jovan in the starting lineup. Jazz also asked earlier, Suarez is still suspended. No, yes, Luis Suarez is indeed still suspended. Tony says, I love Quinn. Even just over this season, he's grown so much. Beginning of the season, he took so many shots and missed every time that I was like, WTF, stop. But I certainly wasn't saying that last night. And what I appreciate about Quinn is, and we talked about this last episode, is he played tremendous soccer the first half of the season and wound up getting him called up to the national team for the Gold Cup. He was taking players on 1v1, taking their shots, which a lot of them weren't making the target. They were going above the crossbar and everything. But, that's a player full of confidence, trying to make a difference. And his tracking, his pressing is fantastic. It's tremendous to watch. And we've seen that since Quinn's been with the first team. He's a player that's always going to press and try to win the ball back. And he's not afraid to play defense and just put pressure on players. But there's moments in the last 8 games where you haven't really seen that. Now, the question becomes, right? I mean, you see the spark that Quinn Sullivan produces. If Quinn goes into the starting 11, do you have a player off the bench that you feel comfortable that can come off and provide that spark that Quinn Sullivan brought last night off the bench? I do think the Union's depth is good. I do believe in it. But if you put Indiana Vasilev on the bench, is he going to bring that spark? To close out a game, I would say he would. But if you're chasing a goal, is he really going to bring that? Probably not. Jazz says, recovering mentally, Vancouver effectively ended their season. So Jazz obviously is believing the Union season's over. Cole says, I did not like the choice of putting Quinn in for Milan. Would have rather seen Indy exit. Michael says, sorry I'm late. I thought it was 9. Yeah, I know. I've been doing the game. The shows usually at 9 over the weekend. But I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do an 8 o'clock show. My bad, Michael. My bad. Michael says, game didn't change until Quinn was added in again. And maybe that should be what we segue into next. 40 minutes into the show, and I haven't played a single clip yet. Just rambling. But it's good. Your comments are good, keeping us engaged, and we're having a good conversation, I feel like. Jess says they couldn't work through the Nashville defending, afraid to complete simple passes. Those center backs put Baribo in his pocket. BJ has them totally figured out. And again, we talked about it earlier in the show when you're talking about holding on to maybe, in your opinion, the wrong coaches and letting the right coaches walk away, and Pat Noonan and BJ Callahan. Pat Noonan had Jim Curtin figured out the last couple meetings between those two guys, and it seems like BJ Callahan indeed has the Union figured out. Jazz says, who on that team from midfield up can dribble besides Stanley and Iloski? Watch these guys freeze when they break up play. Michael says, should have added another center back during the summer window if they aren't going to develop Neil this season. And they tried. That's what I'll say. The Union tried to get a center back in, and it didn't work out. Bradley Carnell had said as much. They're not going to panic buy if the right player isn't available. Union did indeed try to get a center back, but too late in the window, and they tried for a while and just wasn't meant to be. So that's all I'll say on that. But I guess because I do want to get to you playing some clips, last thing I'll say is Andrew Rick. And I saw on Facebook, and I feel like Facebook's probably the place where you see the most negative comments anytime the Union lose. I saw some people saying that Andrew Rick lost the Union this game. The Union is so lost without Andre Blake. Andrew Rick had a phenomenal performance, I think. 5 saves in this game, kept the Union in it despite conceding 3 goals. None of the goals were Andrew Rick's fault. He made really good saves. I mean, he makes a strong save on the shot from Schaufelberg when Makhanya gets caught ball watching for the second goal for Sam Search. Could Rick have done better to parry that away instead of leaving it centrally? It was a strong shot. And the Union don't close down Schaufelberg. And again, I said it earlier in the show. The Union beat themselves, not the referees, not anything else. The Union beat themselves by not closing down, not man marking, losing track of players on set pieces. The Union beat themselves. It wasn't Andrew Rick who lost the game. So for fans that are saying, "Oh, this team's so lost without Andre Blake, they need Andre Blake," I don't agree with that at all. Andrew Rick had a strong performance. Andrew Rick didn't lose the Union the game over the weekend to Vancouver despite conceding 7 goals. It wasn't Andrew Rick's fault. And so I do think that there's a lot of people, and it's not just his fan base, it's sports fans in general. They look at the box score and then they're like, "Oh, it's got to be so-and-so's fault," instead of actually looking at the game. 5 saves from Andrew Rick, really good saves from Andrew Rick. How you can sit here and blame Andrew for the performance last night, I have no clue. I have no clue why people believe in blaming Andrew Rick. It's not his fault whatsoever. Michael says, "Don't blame Rick at all. A lot of those were not reasonable with the block." Mike Barrera says, "Rick didn't look bothered by the 7-0 defeat. He stepped out when needed him last night. The defense left him out to dry both games." Absolutely. Valerie says, "Anyone who says that about Rick Wall is just plain wrong." Cole says, "Hope Rick keeps his head up. 2 strong performances with tough results. I often forget he is 19. He is so good." Absolutely. And one thing I guess to keep an eye on is the upcoming U20 World Cup. Will Andrew Rick be included in that squad? Will Frankie Westfield be included in that squad for the U.S.? We shall see. And the other players, we'll see. But the longer that Blake's out, I mean, God, I mean, could you imagine if Andrew Rick is going away with the national team or the U.S. Youth National Team World Cup, and now you have to rely on George Marks? It'd be terrible. It'd be terrible. The U20 World Cup, by the way, starts September 29th is the U.S.'s first game. And then they have another game on October 2nd. And then they have a game on October 5th. So I would imagine rosters will be announced the end of this week, maybe sometime next week. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully Andrew Rick does not get caught up for the U20s. Cole says it's looking like Westfield, yes, Rick, no. So yeah, that would be great for the Union. But again, losing Frankie Westfield's a little bit of a tough blow because we see Bradley Carnell likes to rotate between Nathan Harriel and Frankie at right back. Do you guys really feel confident if Nathan has to play center back and now Olivier Baizu's playing at right back? I think we all know the answer to how you guys feel about Olivier Baizu. You guys know how I feel. Michael says, "George Marks, let's go. Anya Marks, get set, go. Brick wall." Yeah, so yeah, we'll see what happens with that roster. But no, I don't understand the fans that are blaming Andrew Rick. Not at all. But let's go ahead and turn the page to conceding set piece goals. 2 set piece goals conceded against Nashville. You concede 2 set piece goals, and technically it's 3 set piece goals because you had the handball on the corner kick from Jesus Bueno that led to the penalty kick by Thomas Muller. So because Bueno can't defend the set piece, the corner kick, it leads to the penalty. So really, it's technically 5 set piece goals conceded in your last 2 games. So you've conceded 10 goals, and 5 of them have come because of set pieces. You conceded 2 penalties, and so you're not conceding a ton of goals from open play, which is a positive. And you correct these little miscues and just following your marks on set pieces and, players running through the midfield, players running into the box, then you correct some of these issues. But it still is concerning. 5 set piece goals conceded in the last 2 games. That's really uncharacteristic for this team. This team's been great all season long defending set pieces. And then the Vancouver game happens. The Nashville game happens. The goal scoring off of set pieces have dried up for the Union. The chances being created off of set pieces for the Union have dried up here the last couple games. And nobody was expecting the Union to score a set piece every single game. But it is concerning, in my opinion, to see the Union, concede a lot of set piece goals these last 2 games. So Bradley Carnell was asked last night about the set piece goal that was conceded and just how the Union can just bounce back, how he did believe they were bouncing back in the game against Vancouver. And then again, they can see against Nashville, and then they concede. And Bradley talks about recovering and now getting ready for New England. And this is what Bradley Carnell had to say to that question.
Yeah, like I spoke about, you don't shake off a trip to Vancouver and come here and think that you can be this immortal team, right? So you have to now go through phases in the game and work your way into it, right? So that's why I said I thought we got to that moment, and then unfortunately we just switched off on a detail on a set piece on a long throw, and then all of a sudden you fall down that spiral again, and doubt creeps in, and then you're just like, oh man, is this another roller coaster ride? So these guys are not machines. We are not machines, and I'm proud of the way they respond in that second half, and to show that there's a lot of life and a lot of quality left in this group. So again, it's 2 matches. It's one in the cup and one in the league, and now we have 4 days to recover and 4 days to massage the brains a little bit, and the bodies will be fine.
Yeah, so a lot to harp on from what Bradley Carnell said, and I don't want to spend too much about what happened in the second half. The next clip I'll play is Bradley talking about the second half, what changed and why the Union looked better in the second half. But he mentions that there about how he was proud of how his team responded in the second half, still showing that there's life, that there's still quality in this group despite going down 2-0 at halftime, or 1-0, at halftime. And you concede 5 minutes after the break, and it's been an issue too for the Union, right? Conceding right before the break, conceding at the end of the games. And they've usually started games good, the Union. But 5 minutes out of halftime and you can see the goal, and comes off of a set piece. Comes off of a set piece where you don't close down Schaffelberg fast enough. It's a ball played in by Hani Mukhtar. It's headed away by Makhanya. It's not the greatest header, but as soon as he heads that ball out, you've got to put pressure on Jacob Schaffelberg. He's able to go ahead, take a touch, and then it's a strong left-footed strike. And as soon as he takes that strike, Makhanya's just ball watching. He's watching Rick make the save. And because Rick can't parry that to the side, it's a strong shot into the ground from Schaffelberg. The ball falls kindly in the air to Suric. And because Makhanya gets caught ball watching, it's a free header. It's a free header for Sam Suric. It's just simple stuff, and it's nothing Rick could do about it. He makes the initial save. If his teammates close down the ball quick enough, if it's a better clearance away from Makhanya, then maybe this goal doesn't happen at all. The first goal that happens is a joke of a goal that happens, honestly. It's a throw-in from Andy Nahar. And on the play, it looks like It's going to be a long throw-in for Sam Suric, but that's not what happens. Palacios, one of the two center backs, makes a late run into the box. And so the Union lined this up with Frankie Westfield, Jacob Glesnes, Bruno Damiani, all in the zone. Everybody else is playing man marking. And so you have Kai Wagner, who's technically the player that should be on Palacios. It's a mismatch right there. And so the ball gets thrown into Palacios, and it's Bruno Damiani's zone. He loses out to the header. And Jacob Glesnes, he gets caught ball watching on this play too. He gets caught ball watching where this ball is going to wind up. He's not aware whatsoever that Sam Suric is behind him. And then Sam Suric has a free header. It's a great flick on by Palacios. But those two goals were avoidable. The third goal was avoidable from Sam Suric. But these two goals that I just mentioned were specifically set piece plays. And for a team that's defended set pieces so well the last couple of years, defended them well again this season, little mistakes, goals that aren't coming from open play. You do the little things right. You keep Hani Mukhtar, for the most part, pretty quiet in this game, in my opinion. Maybe you guys are going to disagree with that, but I don't think Hani Mukhtar really had that huge of an effect in this game against the Union. Only 34 touches. Only 34 touches for Hani Mukhtar in this game. When you look at his chances created, according to FootMob, 0 chances created for Hani Mukhtar in this game. So you do your job on Hani Mukhtar, but Sam Suric allowed him to score a hat trick. You're just unaware where he's at. And again, I'll keep harping that point home, that it was the Union that beat themselves and not Nashville. And I don't want to take anything away from Nashville. They shut the Union out offensively. Union had no answers whatsoever for Nashville, breaking them down defensively. But defensively, I thought the Union defended well at times from open play. Yeah, you had a lot of saves from Andrew Rick. Saves he had to make. But when you can see goals on set pieces, it's a positive because you feel like you look at the film room, you got to be aware, you got to be locked in, following your markers. Feels like those are things that you can correct. At least in my opinion, I feel that way. So I don't know. I mean, a team that's defending set pieces so well gets more set piece goals conceded against them. You bring up a good point too, Jazz, about Andrew Rick. Makes a phenomenal save on Hani Mukhtar's free kick. Phenomenal save. So Andrew Rick, for the people that are listening on Facebook, go ahead. I'm sure some of you guys are in all those Union groups on Facebook. Plaster this podcast or make a clip of me praising Andrew Rick, you guys praising Andrew Rick. Andrew Rick was not the issue on the night. Not at all. And as Jazz says, comes up with a huge save on a pretty good free kick by Hani Mukhtar. Pretty good free kick. But again, you don't shut down Schafferberg. You watch as the shot comes in. Bruno Damiani doesn't win his header. Jacob Glesnes loses Sam Suric. Good players like Sam Suric, who's in good form. 21 goals in MLS, leads all players in the Golden Boot race. What do you expect? I mean, good players are going to hurt you, and fortunately, Union aren't able to find an answer to stop Sam Suric. But we'll go ahead and switch it to maybe more of a positive, right? Like I said, I mean, I think it is a positive where you look at game film and you can correct those set piece mistakes. You're not conceding a ton from open play. Those are positives you can build off of. Second half, attacking wise, you can build off of that. Yes, I know the Union are down, and part of that's why the Union had more of the ball. That's part of it why we saw the Union have more shots. They wound up out shooting Nashville in the second half 9-6, 5 shots on target, 4 for Nashville. Let's not forget though, Union don't register a single shot, single chance created in the first half. I mentioned it. First time in this competition this season that the Union don't register a single shot in the first half or get a goal. It's pretty poor. And it's not like it's uncharacteristic for this team because we've seen it multiple times throughout the year. They struggle at times to break teams down. They really do struggle to break teams down and get creative. And to Mike's point, maybe that's why you or in his opinion and some other people's opinions, you should have started Quinn Sullivan because he'll take players on 1v1, and you don't really see that too much from Indy Vasiliev. And there was moments last night where Indy's on the ball. He's too slow with a pass. He doesn't see the pass. And it's like, you've completely killed the attack. And it's happened multiple times this season. I'm appreciative of the defensive effort from Indy, always working his tail off to win the ball back and pressing. His engine seems like it's nonstop, but when you need players to create, it's not really Indiana Vasiliev's style of play, is it? But Union had a huge chance with Mikaua to make it 2-2, and that really makes me mad because it's a throw-in for Nashville in the Union's own half. Union do well to win that ball back. It's Indiana Vasiliev who actually wins the ball back for the Union. Ball gets played from Jovan Lukic into Quinn Sullivan, and Todd Rebo winds up making a run, makes a late run. Quinn Sullivan sees it on the right side of the field, plays Todd Rebo in, and Mikel does well to stay on sides. Ty finds him, and the pass is a little bit behind him, and maybe that's making an excuse, but he's got to do better. You're 1v1 against the goalkeeper. Kicks it straight at him. You've gotta pick a corner. You can't hit it at the center of the goal. You cannot. And that's why fans get so frustrated with Mikel Uhre, because we've seen those chances multiple times. We've seen Mikel miss chances like that multiple times. And then he'll come out and score these crazy goals. It's like, where was this the whole time? Why can't you score those simple goals? It's the life of a striker, right? That's why they get paid the big bucks. That's why strikers are the hardest position to find. Everybody wants goal scorers. But yeah, it's a huge chance wasted in the 75th minute. Would have tied the game up 2-2, and who knows what could have happened there? Who knows? Quinn Sullivan had a pass too right after that. It's an inside of the foot pass towards the back post for Todd Rebo. It's a fantastic ball from Quinn Sullivan, and Ty gives up on the play, doesn't even throw a leg at it. That could have tied the game up at 2 apiece. We definitely did see this team attacking a lot more in the second half. We did see just more interchange between the two strikers, give and go passes, movements into space, quick passes into these guys. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Union, to the credit, found more space in the second half. And again, that's partially because Nashville's up 2-0, and now the Union really have to go for it. They could sit back, hit you on the counterattack. Quinn Sullivan absolutely brought more energy into this game. But where was that in the first half? Where was it? Nowhere to be found. And so Bradley Carnell was asked after the game, how do you explain the chances or the changes in the second half compared to the first? What was the difference? And this is what Bradley Carnell had to say.
Yeah, we just rotated a little bit the formation, made a few tweaks, and that seemed to free up the guys a little bit, just trying to get a couple of guys more touches on the ball, and that just brought a little bit of confidence and created, I think, 3 or 4 100% chances. So, it's been a tough week for the guys to overcome, a lot of adversity. And I thought the way they responded and actually gave the game a go in the second half is not an easy thing to do. So, a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But we have to do a lot better on our personal details with the set pieces and tracking runners and markers and just a little bit of a bad day at the office with that. So, things to work on, things to look at, not obviously happy with the result, but it's a cup run that comes to an end.
It is indeed a cup run that comes to an end. Again, I said it at the beginning of the show, a lot of you guys listening to this podcast probably believe that this was the Union's best chance at a trophy this season. We'll see if they can wind up winning Supporters Shield in first place by a point. see, can they win MLS Cup? Can they do the trophy that I would say this whole fan base wants the most out of any? Can they do it? It's possible. If you take the last 2 games, then some people might say, yeah, no, not at all. But look, there's still 4 games to play and then playoffs, and anything can happen. We know how crazy playoffs are, but yeah, Carnell talks about, just freeing up players, getting players into space, getting more players on the ball more. Kai Wagner is one of those players that took a lot more touches in this game. You get Quinn Sullivan when he comes on as a substitute on the ball a lot more. But again, I talked about it at the beginning of the show. Not enough touches from Indiana Vassilev and Milan Iloski in the first half of the game. Not enough touches for Bruno and Ty Baribo. And what can you expect when your number 10s aren't taking those touches? When Kai's not getting as far up the field, creating chances like he normally does, because Nashville are taking the game to the Union. They want to attack Kai's side, so Kai can't get forward. He has to stay back and defend more than he does attack. We've seen that a couple times now with teams where they purposely attack down Kai's side, so we can't get caught out of position. And because of that, now Kai has to sit back and play more defense. Will that be a recipe that more teams follow? Possible. And I've talked about it before on the podcast where come playoff time, you're going to get 1 or 2 chances. And if you don't capitalize on those chances, then you're probably going to wind up losing the game. So you got to take your chances. Union had opportunities last night. Mikel Ua, penalty that was not called. Ball played to the back post for Ty Baribo by Quinn Sullivan. Union beat themselves because of poor defending, not tracking runners, not paying attention on set pieces, marking. You heard Bradley Carnell talk about it. Everything's correctable by film. So we'll see what happens this weekend against New England. I do want to ask you guys a question, because you look at the Union's record in semifinals, 4 wins, 5 losses. They obviously win those semifinals to go to the 2014 U.S. Open Cup final. The 2015 U.S. Open Cup final, you lose on penalty kicks. The 2018 U.S. Open Cup, you lose 3-0 on the road to Houston. But you obviously have to win those semifinals to get to finals. And this team, when they do reach finals, they struggle. They struggle mightily. But they've shown that they can win semifinal games. They can reach finals. They just don't win finals. But you have 5 losses in semifinals. 2021 Champions League, you lose 4-0 on aggregate to Club America. Had chances in that game, especially at Subaru Park, but Union just weren't able to capitalize on their chances. I know Casper had a chance or 2. Jamir Montero had a penalty, I believe, in that game, right? And Ochoa saved his penalty, if I'm not mistaken. Penalty in the first half. I mean, I'm asking you guys to recall something 4 years ago. Casper had a chance down in Mexico, too, in the first half against Club America, and he doesn't capitalize on that chance. Now I'm starting to get PTSD reminding myself of that game 4-0, where Club America completely takes over Subaru Park, which was a fantastic environment. Then after the game, everybody remembers the Club America fans running onto the field. I remember walking around the stadium before the game. You have so many horses on, so many policemen on horses just riding around the parking lots, riding around the front gates and everything. I mean, never seen anything like that before at Subaru Park. And I don't even think the staff was ready for the Club America fans traveling all over. But yeah, they lose that semifinal game back in 2021. Don't have to remind you guys what happens in the Cup final against LAFC, losing on penalty kicks. 2023 Champions League second leg, you lose 3-0 against LAFC, lose 3-0 in LA. The game was tied 1-1 on aggregate. And going to LA, Union scored a late goal with Daniel Gazag, and then they concede a late equalizing goal to Kellen Acosta in the 91st minute. Lose that 1-4-1. Disappointing result in 2023 in the Champions League. And then, same year, get absolutely blown out in the semifinal against Inter Miami, 4-1 loss. You have the 3-1 loss last season in Columbus in the Leagues Cup semifinal. Then last night's semifinal against Nashville. This team's won some Open Cup semifinals. This team's won games that have taken them to finals. But they've also lost a lot of semifinals. So my question for you guys, and Jazz, I know what your answer is going to be. You've completely given up on this team. You have no faith in this team the rest of the season. But watching this team fall in another semifinal game, do you guys have confidence in the Union if they were to make MLS Cup this season? Would you guys have confidence in this team? And I know that's hard to ask after watching the last two performances, but seeing that this team's just not been great in semifinals, not been great in finals, do you guys have the confidence that this is the team, this is the squad to finally get it done? They had the chance last night against Nashville to go ahead and reach another final in the US Open Cup. Would have been on the road again. And I guess that's fair, right? You have your first two Open Cup games at home, and then you go to Houston back in 2018 on the road and lose. So it's only fitting, right, that if the Union would have reached this final, that they would have had to go on the road and even it up. But do you guys have faith in this team to reach MLS Cup and to finally win? To finally win a trophy, the most coveted trophy that I would say that the fan base wants, that the front office wants, that the players want. Do you guys have faith? Do you guys have faith? Let me know. People listening on the RSS feed, people listening live. If you guys want to go ahead and comment back on the YouTube video after this is live, go ahead. I would love to hear what you guys think. And maybe it's a hard question to ask after the last two games, but I would be curious to see what you guys think. Tony says, absolutely have confidence. Everything in life changes. We have heart. That's what you need. Jazz says, here's my answer. Who would you face? Vancouver, Seattle, LAFC, San Diego, be honest. Who would I rather face out of that group? Me personally, I think a lot of people in this fan base would say LAFC. I'm so over the LAFC matches. I personally don't believe San Diego is going to be in the final. Seattle, we know what it takes. I mean, they're a team that everybody seems to write them off, but they know how to reach finals. They know how to win finals. Would some people in this fan base feel happy if the Union could beat Seattle in a final? Would that make up for their Open Cup loss? No. Yes, maybe. Me personally, man, if I have to choose out of those four teams, I mean, I would say San Diego. Yeah, I know that they're a point behind the Union, but they're an expansion team and they're going on a crazy run. But do they have the experience of being in a final? And the answer is no. And most players on this Union team don't have the experience of being in the final. I mean, this team's completely different from the 2022 team. And that's why I don't think you can make up for that 2022 loss, because so many of those guys are gone now. If you were going to do that, it was going to be back in 2023 or 2024. So out of those four teams, I would want to play San Diego, but I don't think San Diego is going to go there. Do you think you would get one of those? They would all wreck Philly. That's what you're saying, Jazz. Do you think you would get one of those? Minnesota's been on a crazy run too. Minnesota looks like a really good team. I mean, they went to San Diego over the weekend and beat them 3-1. I would say out of those four teams that you mentioned, LAFC and Seattle are probably the two teams that I think are most likely to reach the final in the Western Conference, which if there's any Western Conference fans listening to this, they'd probably be upset with me that I say no Vancouver, no San Diego, no Minnesota. But I mean, Seattle just knows how to get to finals. LAFC, they show up in big moments unless it's against Columbus Crew. They struggle for whatever reason. So I would say out of those teams you mentioned, either LAFC or Seattle, And if I had to pick out of LAFC or Seattle, I would say Seattle. I would say Seattle will reach the finals for the Western Conference team. And I might even pick Seattle overall, even if you didn't give me them as an option. If you said everybody's available to pick for people who are unaware where things stand in the Western Conference, it goes San Diego, Minnesota, Vancouver, Seattle, LAFC, Portland, Austin, Colorado, and San Jose are fighting for that 8 and 9 seed. But yeah, I would say Seattle. Seattle's a good team. Seattle is a team that knows how to reach finals. They know how to win finals. Cole says, random note, yesterday Quinn was the only one to score a semifinal in the last 4 games last season. Nate, Quinn, and Jack were the only ones to score. It's a good note. Didn't realize that. Shout out to the homegrowns. And I saw some people complaining they're tired of this team going all in on the homegrowns. It's an interesting note there from you, Cole. The Union aren't going to stop investing in homegrown. So for people who are saying, yeah, stop going homegrowns and invest all this money into the team and bring in big name players, not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. Michael says, I would not want to play Vancouver again. That's for sure. He also says that this Seattle team is pretty stacked. Absolutely. Pedro de la Vega, who I saw, I would love to hear the backstory. I mean, DM me. I'm sure the listeners don't want to hear that. Why you have a Pedro de la Vega jersey? When you posted that on Instagram, I was like, what? Like, I don't know why that shocked me, why you had that, Michael, but he's a baller. I did not expect him to leave Argentina to come to MLS, and Seattle obviously pays a huge transfer fee to bring him here to MLS. I thought he would have went from Argentina to Europe. He's a very talented winger, and it's been a little bit unfortunate with injuries, but I do agree. It's a very, very good Seattle team, and they're a team that just know how to get to finals. But if you guys don't follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcasts, The Free Kick. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod, where you can also check out the Goals Breakdown video and the podcast live every single episode. Yeah, you guys would notice that I didn't give you a Goals Breakdown video for that 7-0 defeat, because I was like, yeah, people probably won't watch the video. But then over 700 of you guys listened to that last episode, and I don't know why, but you guys are dedicated, and it isn't mostly people from Vancouver, that is for sure. It's mostly people in the Philly area. So I appreciate you guys listening to a 7-0 thrashing of an episode. And if you guys want to check out my writing or the podcast or Goals Breakdown video all in one place, check out thefreekick.substack.com. I mentioned to you guys last episode that I will be on vacation starting on Saturday. I will not be at Subaru Park, but I will watch the game. I will definitely do the podcast on Sunday. I'll figure out some time to do it. 8, 9 o'clock, I don't know, depending on when I have free time, but definitely shooting for Sunday for the podcast. Don't know what time yet. Do I do a Goals Breakdown video? Do I write an article? Potentially. I mean, I do want to enjoy myself on vacation, but I do enjoy making content for you guys and interacting with you guys, doing the podcast live and just getting feedback from people that aren't watching live. So podcast for sure will happen on Sunday. Anything else, I can't guarantee that. But yeah, I appreciate you guys checking in, staying in for an hour, 14 minutes, staying for another Philadelphia Union loss. Hopefully they can start a winning streak again. Again, I mentioned twice now this season, the Union have had 2-game losing streaks. And their previous one, they went 4-0-2. Will the Union start a new winning streak? Maybe. We shall see. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.